Hello, I'm Lucy from Bookshanks. Welcome back to our channel, where today reviewing this one, The Dictator's Wife by Freya Berry. But before I do, I wonder if you might excuse me just one moment of cheeky self-promotion, because if you are here, I have a hunch that you might kind of like reading books about the dark side, books with a big dollop of politics, maybe a dictator thrown in, definitely a little bit of dystopia lurking around the edges. Is that you? Are you here for that? Because if you are, I've got another book that you might like. This one, it's mine. I'm excited because I literally just got the first finished copy through in the post. This is my third novel, and I don't want to ram it down your throat, so I will put some details down below and I'll do a separate video explaining a little bit more that you can take or leave. But The Liberation's Child is a dystopian thriller set in a near future post-genocide London, where two struggling survivors are racing against time to find the truth about a missing child before their past catches up with them. So yeah, April 7th it's out. Did I say that already? April 7th. So yeah, exciting times. And that's it. I'll go back to business as usual, talking about The Dictator's Wife by Freya Berry. So this book, I've been looking forward to it for ages actually. Pretty much since I first heard about it. It sounded bang up my street, and I was really looking forward to it coming out. And I did enjoy it. There was loads to like about it, but I think possibly I put unrealistically high expectations on it. So I didn't love it without reservation, but it was on balance, you know, a pretty good and pretty enjoyable read. It is set in a fictional Eastern Bloc, former Soviet country, and the setting was really believable. We are looking at a period of time where the dictator from this country is dead. His wife is now on trial, and the whole question, everything in the story and in the characters focuses around, was she culpable? Did she do it? Did she rule or did she serve? Where are the lines between, knowledge and awareness versus culpability and being involved and being accountable for your actions? There are three, I was going to say British lawyers, but they're not British. There are three lawyers from Britain who have travelled to this country to defend the dictator's wife in a trial which could result with her having the death penalty. And everyone pretty much thinks that the trial is a foregone conclusion. The story is told from the perspective of Laura, who is like the junior associate lawyer. And her parents actually fled this country when she was a child. She has a really troubled relationship with her parents, particularly her mother, who when she was a child, she has really happy memories of, and this mother who loved her with everything that she had, but she does not understand what changed. And now her mother is absolutely repulsed by the sight of her. So she's travelling back to defend the dictator's wife, but also because she wants to uncover what has happened really in her family. They have never told her, and they will never tell her, why it was that they left. So that's pretty much the plot. The setting for me was a real strength of it. I totally believed this fictional Yanusia country, set between, I think it's, set on the edge of Hungary, in that kind of area of the world. It was totally believable and actually really uncomfortable, particularly reading it against the backdrop of like current world events, Russia and Ukraine, and the issues around censorship, the having really grotesque wealth and crippling poverty butting up against each other, repression, propaganda, all those issues that, still persevered in this fictional country. were absolutely believable, really interesting. Could have happily read more of them, and yet felt extra real against the current political backdrop. The characters were a bit of a mixed bag for me, actually. So part of the premise of the book is that the dictator's wife is enormously glamorous and enormously charismatic, and you know, she's historically been hanging out with film stars and really popular people as much as she has with dictators. And you know, there's an ongoing idea that actually beauty blinds you to truth. And that is an idea that I thought was brilliant in the novel and really, really well explored. Like how much are we willing to overlook, you know, things that are really not right, because actually someone is really charismatic and really beautiful and, you know, or throws money at you and all those things, which again are kind of really relevant against the current political backdrop, looking at, you know, oligarch money and things like that. So that was really believable and really good, and I loved the ideas around that. What I couldn't quite get on board with was how quick Laura, the junior lawyer, was to buy in to the dictator's wife's aura, to this. You know, she's there to defend someone. Her family has fled the country, and yet she was sucked in so quickly. And yeah, I get that they were questioning, you know, themselves, the defense lawyers, like how far they wanted to, you know, push whether she was innocent. You know, are they actually defending someone who's innocent? It was possible. But Laura is sucked in extremely quickly and extremely wholeheartedly. And there were moments where I was like, oh, don't know if I buy that completely. Interestingly, one thing that I did kind of question again was the three lawyers are told that they must stay in the dictator's wife's house, in her mansion, where there was a psychiatric ward underneath in the basement during the years of the dictatorship. And actually, that was another thing that I questioned about Laura, because her boyfriend's what family relation, mother, went missing and probably died, probably met her death in this basement, and yet Laura was still like, oh, you know, captivated by this woman. But they stay in the house, and I was really torn about this, because I was like, oh, there's something really like kind of gothic about it. It like had echoes of Dracula, which I wondered whether it was deliberate, like them exploring the house. It was very convenient because it gave them opportunities to interact and explore the house and do like sneaky things that they wouldn't have been able to do if they were staying elsewhere. So it was a good like narrative device. And I kind of liked the sort of gothic element of it and those Dracula links. I would love to know if they were deliberate. I kind of think they probably were. But then at the same time, I enjoyed it, but there was a part of me that was like, but that actually probably wouldn't happen. And I guess that's the like fundamental conflict I had at times throughout the whole book, was like, I'm enjoying it, but I don't necessarily believe it as being entirely plausible. So what have I talked about? Plot, character, setting, the themes. So touched on it a little bit. There's one big theme going on about whether beauty blinds you to truth, and there's another huge theme about how far turning the other cheek is actually being complicit, and all these really great, interesting ideas that were explored about, you know, is she preventing this dictator from going further than he would have done? Is she reining him in? Is that enough? You know, actually, if she turned a blind eye and left him and walked away, you know, actually, would it have been worse? And so she was helping. You know, actually, was she a victim? Was she captive? Not just innocent, but actually one of his victims too. There's all these really big ideas that I thought were really well explored, and I really enjoyed, and I did like a lot. So there was, yeah, I'm a bit conflicted. There was loads and loads to like. I was thinking the whole way through, as I do when I read books, like, what is this like? Because it's really helpful, I think, to describe to people, you know, oh, it's a bit of this, it's a bit of this, it's a bit of this. But actually, it was really original, and I struggled to liken it to other books. And partly because of the style in which it was written, it felt really fresh. It did. So I thought maybe it's got a little bit of a hint of John le Carré about it, in like the spy element, sort of that Eastern Bloc. Is there a mole? All of those things, but written in a completely different style. Similarly, I was like, there was a little tiny bit of the quiet American like niggling in the back of my mind, but again, totally different style. They've got like those internal monologue stuff going on, because it's all from Laura's perspective. So we've got a lot of her thoughts, but it's way more humorous. There's a lot of wit running through here, which I really, really liked about the style. There's like gallows humour, but it's pitched at a really good level. It doesn't go too far that you think, oh, it's a bit offensive. And I think that potentially, again, with like the backdrop, because it was so relevant, things could have cut a little bit but close to the bone, and that wouldn't have been Freya Berry's fault at all, because, you know, obviously reading in exceptional times, but it was still fine. It was a good, respectable level of humour, but like proper humour. You know, it was clever, and I liked that a lot. The other way I guess that the style differs from those books is it's absolutely packed with metaphors and similes, like packed with them. And in the first couple of chapters I was like, oh, we're doing this, are we? Because it's so full, and I wasn't sure whether it might have been a bit too much for me personally, but actually either it calmed down a lot and it sort of found its stride, or maybe I just, you know, embraced it and got a lot more used to it. It could be either, it could be both. But actually, I found that they worked because they were good metaphors and similes. A lot of the humour came through them. So it did, on balance, work for me. So I'm not sure whether those comparison books are very accurate, really. Throw in a bit of Dracula as well, and and you put that out there, le Carré, quiet American, Dracula, and I mean, it's not that, but there's hints of it going on somewhere. Also, when I picked it up, I was like, well, this cover is Handmaid's Tale through and through, isn't it? It's the Testaments, but the book itself is not. I don't think it is. Perhaps there's a hint of it right at the end, plot-wise. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's a. I think there are better comparisons to The Handmaid's Tale, and I think actually just touching there on plot, there were a few things at the end related to like Laura's quickness to trust and wanting to believe, that I was like, oh, is this how I thought the plot was going to go? No. Does it work for me? Still undecided. And it sounds like I'm being really negative, and I don't want to be, because I did still enjoy it. It is just that I enjoyed it, but I didn't always believe it. And I think that possibly just left me wanting that little bit more. But, you know, if that's fine, you know, if you don't have to, or you don't have to wholeheartedly believe that this book could be real, because there's enough about it, I think, that is, you know, that is plausible and that is real and that you can buy into, particularly around the setting. And actually the dictator's wife herself was very believable. I got her, and it was just Laura's willingness, I think, and the speed at which she got on board with it that was my beef, and perhaps all the other little strands can be traced back to that as ever so slightly unsatisfying. But I would still recommend it, definitely. And if you, I was going to say, if you like that kind of book, but, you know, I'm aware I've gone back and forth in this view, so you might not even know what type of book it is. But I would definitely read her again, and that, you know, that probably says what you need to know. So, The Dictator's Wife by Freya Berry, my last review before I hit the Women's Prize. Would love to know what you're reading this week, whether you've read this book, whether you plan to, and that's it. Have a very good week. Hope the sun is shining wherever you are, and I'll see you soon. Bye.